looks good. Yep.
Can you see that?
Yeah. We could bring it up to the thing. For those who are not watching live, this will be listed on the main channel, so you can watch it at your leisure. I know a lot of people are probably doing stuff today, but we'll wait till some people come in.
So people like watch you like in real time?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're famous.
Yeah.
I am. I'm just a regular guy. All right, let's see what we got. What's awesome about these live videos is people who aren't watching live get to watch me like do this for about 2 minutes, making sure everything's good. All right, we got some folks coming in. Let me know if you can hear. If you can hear me, perfect. Looks like got a thumbs up here. So go ahead and start throwing in the comments. If you have questions, by the way, I'll be saying this again, but if you have questions, we will be answering those questions. Perfect, perfect, awesome. All right, got some folks kind of filtering in, perfect. Okay, hey from Pennsylvania, nice. Florida, fellow Floridian, 5x5, nice. All right, so I've got my good friend Bill with me. He's been on a couple episodes, been on the podcast before, and what we're gonna be talking about today, instead of doing a traditional YouTube video, I wanted to go more in depth for some of the guys who kind of nerd out about distance and precision and being a marksman or a designated marksman or a sniper. And there's a really cool tool that came out from Vortex, and this video is brought to you by Optics Planet. So thank you, Optics Planet. They sent this Vortex Impact 4000 mounted, rifle-mounted laser rangefinder. So we're gonna be going in depth. We're gonna cover about some of the features, my thoughts about it. Bill's going to talk about his experiences with the laser rangefinder, also how to zero. So if you have one of these and you don't know how to zero it, or you're kind of figuring out, hey, what's the process for using this thing, we'll go over that today in the live. So if you have any questions at the end of the video, I will go through and Bill and I will answer your questions. And it can also be about other things in terms of like gun stuff or builds or gear or whatever. So without further ado, guys, rotate the phone to landscape. I wish I could. But we have a buttload of stuff in here that would get us canceled from the live video. So what we'll do is we'll be bringing things up to you to be able to allow you to see it better if that works. All right, so Bill, welcome.
Good morning, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, I'm sweating. So, all right, so real quick, the Vortex laser rangefinder, what is it in general? So yeah, someone wants to go buy one, what is it?
It is a gun-mounted laser rangefinder. So essentially, there's multiple different kinds of laser rangefinders, right? You've got monoculars, binoculars, you have gun-mounted, and this one obviously specific is gun-mounted. So you're able to mount it on your gun and basically shoot a laser out, and it will feed back the range of whatever target you're shooting at. So that'll give you not only range, but if you are running a ballistic calculator with it, it will also give you your holds as far as elevation, also windage, but essentially, yeah, it's a good piece of kit.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're into like sniper type stuff, or you're a designated marksman for your community, or you're just a hunter, one of the things that when it comes to long range shooting is understanding and knowing what your distance is, so that way you can develop what your hold is going to be. So you have to know distance. Now, whether you decide to figure out the distance via bare naked eye, or you use some sort of range finding tool, traditionally I've always used the binoculars. So like Sig Sauer has the Kilo 10s, and I use those binoculars to be able to observe and also get my range. The problem with that is I have to literally come out of my glass, pick up my binoculars, range it, and then go back into my glass and make my adjustments or whatever. So what the rangefinder does, mounted on the rifle, is allows you to see your target through your scope, range it, look up above your scope, get your distance, and sometimes it'll even give you your ballistic hold, like it'll tell you exactly what you need to hold on your, or dial for your scope, and then you can drop back in. So it's really, really fast, it's really quick, and also eliminates, I wouldn't say eliminates, but if you wanted to just use your scope for observation, you technically don't need another rangefinder. So you can probably just have a smaller set of binos or a small spotting scope for observing without a rifle. And And so you went to the tactical games. We actually talked about this on the podcast.
Yes.
Talk about the laser rangefinder that was mounted versus what you guys had.
Yeah, so when me and my partner went there to the sniper challenge, all we had was binoculars. So laser rangefinder in the binoculars, and essentially what that does is it does the same thing. It gives you your holds, gives you your ranges, but someone has to be disconnected from the gun and the sights in order to be able to do that. So that was more of a traditional spotter shooter role, and it works, but it definitely is a slower process. I would say that having one mounted on the gun is definitely a force multiplier in the fact that you literally can now eliminate one person from doing a job. You can do all those things that two people were doing in one person. You can spot yourself, you can range yourself, and it's much quicker, much quicker.
Yeah. What kind of, versus you guys had this traditional binoculars and rangefinder that was separate. How much of a difference did it make for the other competitors that had mounted rangefinders on the rifle?
It made a big difference.
Really?
And that's something we went into it, we weren't sure about. We weren't sure exactly how the stages were going to go. And as we went through the 2 days, we realized pretty quickly that having a gun-mounted rangefinder was a benefit. Like I said, if you can now be an independent shooter. You don't have to rely on somebody spotting and ranging for you. You can do it all yourself. You don't have to rely on somebody behind you ranging, giving you holds or distances. All the guys on the top 10, they all had gun-mounted laser rangefinders.
Yeah. So essentially, what you could do is you could have it shooter, where you have one guy has a laser-mounted rangefinder on his rifle, the other guy just has a standard long gun rifle as well, and you can range. Or one of the shooters can range, but you can both have the ability to engage. So it kind of makes it really, really effective. It increases the amount of firepower that's accurate that you can put down range. So whenever you get the rangefinder, what kind of comes with it whenever you buy it from Vortex?
It pretty much comes with everything you need.
Yeah.
It comes with 3 different mounting solutions for your, this is the Bluetooth activation button.
Yeah,
right?
sort of like a remote control.
Remote control,
Yeah.
yeah. So it comes with 3 different mountings, actually 4. It comes with Velcro, an M-lock mount, a key mod mount, and what's the other one? I don't even know what the other one was.
Key mod. Oh, Picatinny rail. Like
Picatinny,
a 19,
yeah.
Standard Picatinny rail.
And it comes obviously with the gun-mounted LRF, and comes with a cover.
Yeah.
Comes with all the info you need. It also comes with tools, all the tools you need, and it comes with a zeroing package. So it gives you zeroing targets and also some reflective tape to use while you're zeroing. I can't remember. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
All the literature, obviously, the normal stuff, the wipes, and different mounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much it's got everything you need.
Yeah. So obviously the one thing is price point is, I think it's like, what'd you get for yours for?
So one of our buddies, so when we came back, there was 4 of us that went, 2 separate teams, and everybody that went came back and was like, this is the way, we need to get one, and we were all kind of on the same page. So we were all keeping an eye out, and one of the guys found one. It was like 20% off, and I think somebody had another discount code or something. So I ended up getting mine for like $1,200.
Wow.
So it was very, very cheap. But normally they run, I've seen them between $1,500 and $2,000, depending on where you look. So yeah.
The one, if you guys go through Optics Planet, which, as we know, Optics Planet brought us this video, and they sent us the Vortex Impact 4000. They will sometimes have deals. So if you look on Optics Planet, sometimes they'll have like every Vortex optic or product has like a discount code or a huge deal. So you have 2 packages. You'll have the laser rangefinder by itself as a package, and then sometimes you'll have a laser rangefinder with the Vortex diving board for a Vortex scope rings. So obviously the one with the scope rings is going to be more expensive, but if you get it without the diving board, because you already have one, then that's going to save you some money. But usually it's going to be 19 and below, and in comparison, you might think, wow, that's a lot of money. In the past, the only available options were over like 10 grand. So like you had your Wilcoxes and all these other ones that were really expensive rangefinders that really made it unobtainium for a lot of shooters and made it really hard to get. So Vortex kind of bridging that gap and making it where it's extremely affordable in comparison to the, you know, the rifle mounted laser rangefinder thing. So here we go. So we got, if you get on Optics Planet right now for with the scope, the diving board, it's $2,000 or $2,009. So that's with the diving board. So you can obviously get it without. But here's some of the mounts.
Yeah, these are the mounts that you'll get to attach to your rail, and this just clicks in basically, or you can Velcro it wherever you want.
Yeah. Here, let me see that.
It all depends on what you're shooting, where it needs to go.
So you open this gate, it pushes down, and it locks in. And that way it's locked into your thing. So here we go. We got one of my buddies here, Tyler's actually looked it up on Optics Planet right now. It's at $1,500. So you go from now $10,000 for a rifle mounted laser rangefinder to now $1,500. That's almost the price of a good piece of glass. So, or an AR, like a good factory AR. So like this is a huge capability that you can get for a fraction of the cost. So one of the things that obviously, if you're going to look at getting one of these, getting a solid diving board. Don't get a Chinese diving board. I'm going to do a shout out to Griffin Armament. They make their version of like a spur type mount where it is extremely robust. We can't bring it on here to show you because you know YouTube's policies with the lives, but the Night Force one also is really good. But Griffin Armament has a diving board that's really robust. And I think the scope rings are relatively inexpensive in comparison to other.
And it
brands.
actually, I have two of them.
Yeah.
And I personally like it because the diving board itself is one of the lower settings, so it sits very low to the optic itself. A lot of the ones you'll see are, like even this one,
It's
I don't
very
know if
tall.
you guys can see it. Yeah, it's really, really tall. It's way above the scope line. The one from Griffin is probably the lowest one I've seen. It sits real low. So to me, aesthetic-wise and just not having it, you know, 3 inches, 4 inches above your optic, like there's a lot of space right there.
Yeah.
The one on my gun, it sits more like this. So I personally prefer it.
Yeah, the Night Force one is what I'm running on that standard SPR or the Mark 12, and that is one that they sent, Night Force sent with that scope. But it's still also a very robust system. Like you've got multiple screws, and the reason why you want the diving board to be robust is because you have to zero the laser. So what type of zero do you guys, or do we use for this laser?
So it'll be a parallel zero.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's not hard. For whatever reason, so I have a set of Fury binoculars from Vortex. They run applied ballistics software in that. These run geoballistics. Not sure why they ran separate.
I think it's Vortex's actually their version of applied ballistics. So they ran, it's a Vortex program, so it's their version of applied ballistics that they run in this.
Okay.
So it does the same thing.
Yeah, it all does the same thing. I've just seen a couple people say that it's hard to set up and all this. It's not. It's super easy. I did it by myself. Didn't need any help, but if I had an extra person, it would have made it even easier. But essentially, like I said, this is your zeroing package. Comes in the box. It is a parallel zero.
I'll hold stuff for you.
Yeah. So it comes with that zeroing target, and it also comes with reflective tape. And you're essentially supposed to put the tape on the sides and above. That way, if your laser is off center, it'll pick up. Because the laser itself on the unit, the visible laser, it's weak. It's not strong. So in bright daylight, it's really hard to see at 100 yards. I was actually able to do mine without using these, but it did take me a few minutes to pick up the laser on the cardboard. But it can be done. If you had somebody else there, I didn't have anybody helping you, it'd have made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But essentially, yeah.
There are instructions here, by the way, so if you don't get this video, you can obviously reference the instructions. But go ahead.
But yeah, essentially what you're going to do is in the center of the window, right, you're going to measure from center of window down to center of your optic. So whatever dimensions that is, I think on my particular one, there we go. So that would be center of the laser rangefinder, center of the window, and then you measure down to the center of the optic. So those two center lines, whatever that measurement in mine was 2 3/4 of an inch. So that is what your offset is going to be on the zeroing target. Hopefully you guys can understand my drawing, but basically, yeah, you're going from center of optic to center of window on the laser rangefinder, whatever that dimension is. And then once you have that, that's basically where you'll put one of these pasties, right? So this would be your crosshairs, right? Your reticle on your optic, and then you're looking to get the laser to point right at this thing. You would measure up, so mine's 2 3/4, so I measure up 2 3/4, that's where I put the pasty, and then basically shoot the laser and start adjusting from there. Once the laser lands on that, while your reticle is still zeroed up on this mark, you're good to go. That's all it takes.
So whenever you look at the LCD screen, what you're going to have is you're going to have this. There's different menu settings, so you can click that and go through the different settings. And then on the side, to activate the visible laser, you only use the visible laser for zeroing. You're going to use the tool that they provide you, and it will say, you have a little mark, and it says enable and disable. So obviously once you're done zeroing, you want to disable the visible laser because it stays on. So in your zeroing process, go through enable, all right? And then you mind turning that on? So
yeah, so you turn this on to enable it, and then you go through the menu. So we are on, where are we at? Settings, setup settings. So we'll go down to settings, then we'll hit enter, and then down at the bottom it says visible laser. So you'll scroll down, visible laser, enter that, and now it says off or on. So right now we're off. We'll click up to on, hit enter, and it should be on.
So there you go. You got your visible laser. There you go. It's right there in the center. But that's what you're going to use. Now understand, doing this when it's mounted on the rifle. But the other thing also is this is the one thing that I think is kind of a pain, is this also has the ability to give you your heading, right? To tell you your direction. So you want to talk through that portion?
So if you've ever worked with a Kestrel, Kestrels, right, it's a weather meter, a wind meter, and it also, some of them will have a ballistic calculator in it. So it's very similar to that as far as being able to basically orient itself to whatever you're shooting at, and then as well as the wind, which side it's coming from, and also obviously it gives you elevations. But wherever all that information is coming from, it will give you your holds based off of that. So when you first get it, same as this one, you're supposed to calibrate it. So calibrating it, you'll go to the calibration screen and start calibrating it. Very similar to the Kestrel. I think this one you do a figure 8 pattern. That starts to calibrate it, and then it runs you through the menu of the calibration. And then once it's calibrated, it knows north, south, east, west. It knows level, degrees. It gives you all that. So once you've done that, I haven't even gotten into it. I haven't gotten that far with it yet.
Yeah, that's one of the.
It's a lot.
That's one of the cons for me is if you're going to calibrate this, it's good for a certain distance. So, or excuse me, like if you're staying in a certain area. So once you move, after a certain amount of yardage, now it's no longer calibrated. Yeah. So you have to recalibrate it, which means you have to take it off your rifle, which now unzeros the laser, do all this, and then you'd have to remount it and then reconfirm zero. So it is a pain. All it really does is tell you your heading. So if you're looking south, it'll give you a good azimuth, but you can kind of make up for that by just popping your compass out or looking at your watch or whatever if you have like a wrist compass and get a quick heading. So for me, what really is the big ticket that I'm paying attention to is my zero, making sure that parallel zero is rock solid. What battery does this use? I think it uses a single 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yep. 1, 2,
So
3 on the
you'll-
side.
I mean, as far as battery compatibility, it's the same as most all your optics or equipment that you're running. So if you're running night vision, if you're running most rangefinders, or even like an EOTech, you have a spare 1, 2, 3. So having spare 1, 2, 3s on hand, it's compatible with other batteries that you're most likely already going to have. Now understand, people go, what about the weight? What are your thoughts about weight?
Go work out.
Yeah.
Go lift weights.
Yeah. I mean, if you want the capability, if you want a heavy profile barrel so you can shoot further distance, shoot more accurately, weight is one of those things. With capability comes weight. So understand that this is something that maybe if I was in a team, I wouldn't have every shooter need this.
No.
Probably just, hey, one guy's gonna be designated spotter that's also shooting, that's looking through glass with this. The other guy will be just a straight shooter. But as far as the working out thing, yes, it's kind of cliche, but it goes back to one of those things where a lot of the stuff, when it comes to preparedness, comes to the tactical side, if you want more protection, it's gonna be more weight. That means more armor, more flak, more soft armor. If you want more capability to be able to stretch out, it's gonna be more weight. There are some roles and some things where trying to go as light as possible, like a very fast type of unit that's almost like a lightning attack, or a very, very quick in and out recce style unit, you want to try to shed weight. So it all goes back to, I hate to say it's so cliche, MET-TC, but yeah, application. What are you looking to achieve? What are you trying to do? So what are some other things that have really stuck out to you about the LRF?
I would say my biggest thing, like I said, I had the binoculars and they work good and everything. They have a purpose and a place, but this specific thing obviously has a place and a role. This thing's built for fast, multiple engagements. If you have a bunch of targets at different ranges and it's all happening quick, whether it's a match you're shooting, blind stages, whatever it is, this is the solution. You're able to range, get your holds immediately. You don't have to wait on anybody to tell you. You throw your shot, drop it, move on to the next. It's very fast, and that's what this thing's built for.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, if you've got two people and you're sitting somewhere hunting, waiting for a deer, then I wouldn't say you need this.
Yeah.
But in other applications, where it's going to shine. Multiple targets, not a lot of time to hit them. And that's where this is going to shine.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where also for moving targets. So you had to experience movers at the Sniper Challenge. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there was 3 stages where there were movers. They had one stage that was a car, but it was coming straight at you. But the other ones were actually robots that were going lateral to you. If you're trying to pick those up with binoculars, it can be done, but now instead of 2 people shooting, you're down to 1 person shooting because you're on binos. So instead, if you had 2 of these, now you have 2 shooters. You can range yourself and you can start engaging targets immediately. You don't have to wait for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's very quick.
Now, what I will say about any type of LRF, even if you're using binoculars, is a rule of caution. And the reason why is going to be signature reduction. So whenever you shoot this LRF, there is equipment out there. There are vehicles. There is capability for laser energy to be detected. And what happens is that laser energy, when it's detected, will literally give that person or that vehicle operator an azimuth back to your direction. So one of the things that is right now being experienced in Ukraine, in Europe, in terms of that conflict, is guys are trying to figure out how to range without giving off a signature or do things that lower their signature. So whenever you shoot this thing, you're sending laser energy out there, and it's going to possibly give you away if you're, the enemy force that you're combating against has the capability to detect this energy. So understand, everything has a risk. You got to weigh out that risk on the fly, but even if you're using binoculars and you range something, you are going to be sending signature out there. So something to think about is also having equipment, yes, but the more, in the military we always said, hey, the more skills you have, the less equipment you need. So if you're able to range with the bare naked eye, or you're really good at milling out your range, and so you can figure that out on your reticle. If you're good at like passive shooting under night vision, you don't have to use a laser or a laser module to be able to make engagements at night. You can just look through your optic. These are all things that you as a shooter should be thinking about and have the capability to do it. I'm still working on that, trying to range with the naked eye, or just maybe using a set of binoculars that has a reticle in it, so that way you can utilize that to range. Primary Arms has like range finding type of reticles. There's a ton of companies out there that have range finding etch marks in their reticles. So, but something to think about whenever you are trying to lower your signature. But like I said, or Bill was saying, that is a force multiplier. It just gives you more capability. But yeah, any final thoughts on laser rangefinders?
No, they are expensive, and like I said, I've been doing this quite a while, and I've gone through the gambit of optics and different things to progress my shooting. Ultimately, none of these tools are going to beat round count.
Yeah.
If you're going out and immediately buying these and buying the $5,000 gun, that's great, but they're not going to make sense to you until you've gotten a round count to where you're capable of shooting things without that stuff. It's hard to beat round count, and I know Eric always says get out and train, and that's really, I can't stress it enough, and I don't know how to relay the importance of that verbally.
Yeah.
You got to get out and shoot.
Yeah.
If I was talking to a guy in class this week, and he was asking me about what sight he should put on his gun. And I started asking him a couple questions, and I finally was like, how many times a year do you shoot? About 3 or 4. And I told him, put whatever you want on it.
Yeah.
If you're only shooting 3 or 4 times a year, the kit you put on your gun isn't going to make much of a difference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
go out and train. So speaking of training, go check out barrelnatchet.com for the training calendar. We do have a 2-day scope carbine class in November. A sooner class that's coming up that I'm super excited about is a collaboration class with Sidewinder Concepts. He is a Army sniper retired. He's a master with a bolt gun, really good at precision and distance. So it's a 2-day Minuteman Carbine Symposium in Holt, Florida at Element Training Center, where I'll be teaching all the close-up gun handling type stuff with rifles and carbines, and he'll be teaching the distance type thing. So we'll be teaching the class together. It'll be a great time, and come check that out. So now I'm going to go through some of these comments, and we'll see what we got. So here's some questions. I was thinking about a Griffin Mark II or ADM Mod 2. The Griffin, both are really well. If you want a more mil-spec type look, the Griffin Armament Mark II has a more mil-spec type feel. The ADM has a more modernized type look to it, but both use really great parts and are good out of the box. We are talking about guns. They say, what should be better, LPVO or red dot with a magnifier for a 16-inch AR?
red dot with a magnifier. Very user-friendly, easy to learn.
How do you feel about the long calibration process recommended if you travel more than 30 miles? I mean, it's good if you're going to be walking, so I guess that works, but as soon as you go into a vehicle, which we're looking at, the conflict in Europe, everything is by vehicle. Guys are like driving places and then getting dropped off and then going somewhere else. So it may seem like, yeah, that's not too big of a deal, but if you're in a constant move, that might be something you have to consider. See here. All right. Does Vortex offer any analog ranging tools that don't have IR signature? So the one I will say that obviously you can check out the spotting scopes that they have, but if you want to save some money, and it's a really great product and it's super inexpensive, less than 20 bucks, it's a range card that you can actually get from Black Hill Design. So it's for ranging.
I have their handheld binocular. There's actually you can measure stuff in mils.
Okay, so Tyler's saying that they have a handheld binocular that does have mils, so that way you can range out with mils.
It's just a math problem.
And it's just a quick math problem. So the Black Hills Designs actually is a card. You have a string that you put in your mouth, you hold it up, and it tells you different types of things like a doorway or a man, and then you just kind of measure that person in the range card and it tells you your rough distance. So that is a perfect thing. It's super lightweight, it's small, it's very inexpensive, and it's a really awesome product to go check out. But as far as the, man, I had something else to talk about. We'll see if I remember it on these questions. Hey Eric, I have one very high quality 16-inch gun with a nice laser acquisition marker, night vision setup, red dot magnifier with a can. I train constantly, but I want to build another. Am I overthinking it? That is something that all of us struggle with. And this is a twofold type thing. One, continue to go out and buy, stuff, because that is a great way to continue to protect the Second Amendment. And I say that with a caveat. For example, the brace thing, right? That's being fought in court. One of the reasons why they're having a hard time is because there's so many of them. Had not a bunch of Americans went out and got that stuff, it would be a lot easier case to be fought. So as far as a long-term Second Amendment fight, it's a really good thing to go out and support all these companies and start, putting your money behind companies that really have you as the shooter in mind, which is why on this channel specifically, I push out stuff to you guys that I think is stuff that I use myself or I think is like a really good product. The great thing about Vortex is obviously they got a warranty, lifetime warranty. So if you break this thing and you're running it and it breaks, you can send it back and they'll send you a new one. So that warranty program is kind of that good life insurance for that unit or any Vortex product that you have. But on the flip side, you're never going to get as good with your rifle if you're always switching things up. So you're like, hey, I'm going to run my AR, and now I'm going to go run a bullpup, and now I'm going to run an AK, and all, so if you're running different things all the time and always switching things up, you'll never be as good. So kind of that one warrior, that one sword mentality is going to make you a lot more effective. And it happens. We all have different setups, and it's fun, and I continue to encourage having fun. But the other thing is also making sure that you have your one main squeeze that you train with quite often. Hey Eric, you have a high quality 16-inch gun with a, oh, here we go. Videos. If it breaks after an apocalypse, the warranty is void. Roger that. All right, guys, so hey, thanks for those who participated. If you have any questions, shoot them in the comment. This video will be available for you to watch on the channel. And yeah, make sure you guys look out for each other, live to serve other people, don't have an ego, live to help your fellow man and love your fellow man. So I'll see you guys on the next one.